Welcome back to another Bellows Blades review, where today we're going to be looking at what I consider a fairly unique knife, something a little bit different. Definitely different for me as far as my collection goes. And that is, as you can see here, it's the AKC Xtreme Spy. Now, it doesn't say Spy there, but it does there. So this is the AKC Xtreme Spy. It comes in a box. It does have a magnetic clasp on it. Now, I have already opened this. This isn't a true unboxing. This does come just wrapped in plastic sleeve. But it does come in a nice little foam cutout there in the box. And then this is the knife. And like I said, for me, this is a little bit different, just purely for no other reason. If for no other reason, would be because of the size. I typically do not have knives that are this small. But I thought this one was neat enough that I decided to go ahead and pick it up and kind of just keep this as a little, throw in the pocket type knife that I could carry around. So the thing that's kind of interesting about this knife is how it opens. And we're going to show you that here in just a minute. So there's no obvious opening mechanism on this, which is why it's called the Spy, because it has a, if you will, a hidden opening mechanism. So there's no thumb stud, there's no flipper, there's nothing like that. There's no nail nick to get a hold of. What it is the bolster itself is actually the opening mechanism. So when you push this way, the knife snaps open. So it is an automatic, one thing to be aware of. And it does definitely, watch the way that thing comes out. Whop. It's super fast. The only other knife that I really have that opens this quickly is a ProTech. Now, part of that is because it has a very stiff spring and a very, very small, lightweight blade. So because you have that stiff spring and such a light blade, it just really flings it out there. In fact, I'm guessing on the camera, you probably can't hardly even see it open. It's opening so quickly. It definitely feels that way. It snaps out with authority. There's no doubt. So just a nice little, kind of neat little knife, very small. This comes in with a 2.4 inch D2 blade. So it is a D2 steel. Again, very common steel in the budget category. And this definitely qualifies as a budget automatic for sure. So this comes in right around $40. And for an automatic, that's a pretty low price point. So $40, definitely a budget automatic. So D2 steel is kind of almost what you expect in this category anymore. It seems to be most budget knives are coming out with the D2, which is a great steel. I have no problems with D2. I think it's a really good budget steel for sure. Overall, this knife is only 5.9 inches. Those are the measurements as advertised. So we'll go ahead and just throw a ruler on it real quick and see if that lives up to, 5.9. And the blade itself looks like just under 2.5, which is pretty much what it advertises. The handle itself is made out of aluminum, and the weight on this knife is a really, of course it's so small, it's to be expected, but a really light, advertised as 1.94 ounces. Now we're going to see if that's accurate or not. So let's go ahead and get the scale out, and we're going to go ahead and there we go. 1.73 is actually what I'm coming up with. So it's actually quite a bit lighter than it's advertised. There I got 1.76, so a little bit of variance there, I guess, depending on how I put it on the scale there. Okay, 1.76. So they advertised it as 1.94. It's actually even lighter than that, at least the one that I got is. So that's definitely a light knife. You're not going to feel this thing in your pocket. So overall, basically, the other thing to kind of note about this knife is the pocket clip. You can see that it only has a single screw in it, which is not the best design, to be honest, because inherently those designs tend to get a lot of wobble, and you can already see there's wobble. Actually, right there, you can see the clip moving around. Because there's only that one screw to hold it, it tends to get some wobble in it. Now, I will say that this thing came out of the box so tight that I could, with one hand, I most times could not get it to go over my pocket. I had to reach over with my other hand and kind of pull up on the pocket clip. So I went ahead and pulled out a little bit on that to try and bend it out a little, and that worked. It loosened it up, but I almost loosened it just a little too much. So now it's almost too easy to get in and out. So definitely be careful if you're doing that, that you don't overbend it. I'll probably take this thing off and then bend it back a little bit just to kind of get it a little tighter than what it is. But I don't want to keep bending it back and forth, so I may leave it alone. I don't know. We'll see. The other thing to point out about this thing, I mentioned about how fast it snaps out. Well, at least for me, and again, I have maybe kind of somewhat larger hands. So if you're somebody with medium or smaller hands, these issues may not be a problem for you. But for me, I have two concerns with that. One is when I'm holding it like that, by necessity, my finger gets in the way of that opening blade. And when it snaps out, you see that little mark right there? That's actually, I have two of them. Those are both little blood blisters from where the meat of my finger is getting in the way of that blade snapping shut, and it just pinches you. That doesn't really hurt or anything, but it's definitely, you can see it's leaving marks. Because the way that thing slaps open so fast, it's definitely going to pinch you. The other thing that I haven't had happen yet, but I have to admit I'm very conscious of, and it makes me a little nervous, is the meat of my hands. I'm worried about, depending on how I'm holding it, the meat of my hand here getting over top of where that blade flicks out and just catching with the point of that knife, catching the meat on the palm of my hand. So I have to kind of really try and make sure that I keep it's so close. I mean, it just flies right by that part of my hand. So I just got to be real conscious of that. I imagine it would not feel too good to have the point of that thing gouge a chunk out of the meat of your hand. So definitely, like right there, I just pinched myself again. If you have larger hands, this thing is a little difficult to operate just because of how small it is, and you kind of have to contort your hand to try and get it in position to hold the knife steady while still manipulating the opening mechanism. So just be aware of that. I think definitely if you have smaller hands or even medium-sized hands, that's probably not going to be as big of an issue for you, and you're probably going to really like this knife if you like smaller knives. I tend to gravitate toward larger knives, so the other Xtreme. This is the smallest knife I own. So that's what it is. Some people have knives much smaller than this. This is definitely the smallest one I have, and I would not have even bought it other than I just thought the little hidden opening bolster release there was pretty cool. And just the way that thing snaps out with such authority was pretty cool as well. So guys, basically this is just a quick review. Haven't got a chance to really use it. This is just taking it out of the box for like the second time and giving you my impressions of it. As I said, you can see I've been opening it a little bit. Just be aware of that problem where you could pinch yourself while that thing's flying open, depending on, again, size of your hands. The only other con I really have is this pocket clip being so tight, but even more than that, because you can always adjust that, is just having the one screw. I mean, there's really no way to stop having a little bit of slop in the pocket clip when you only have the one screw securing it. It's going to want to swing around like that screw is acting as a pivot. So anyway, guys, there is also, I didn't mention, there is a lanyard hole there for people who like those kind of things. I've never put lanyards on my knife, but I know a lot of people do like them, so you know, it's there. And it's small enough that it kind of makes sense having a lanyard to easily get it out of your pocket. If you're just throwing it in your pocket and you have a deep pocket, that thing's going to set away in the bottom. So having a lanyard could be helpful. I've actually found that this thing's small enough that in a jeans pocket, I actually put it in the little coin pocket. And it clips in there, and it's small enough. Most knives are too long that before the pocket clip engages with the seam, you're hitting the bottom of that coin pocket. That's not a problem with this knife. So I actually found that for me, that's the best place to carry this, is I just carry it in that little coin pocket in the jeans, in your jeans, and that seems to work really well. So guys, that's just a quick take on the AKC Xtreme Spy. It's a really cool, really neat little knife. You know, for 40 bucks, I think it's a good deal. Personally, I wish it was just a little bit cheaper. And I know I say that on a lot of knives, so people probably just think, you know, I'm cheap. But I don't know. I guess I am, you know, value conscious, especially for the consumer out there who is not going to have a large budget for knives. And so with the D2, you know, that alone doesn't really add a lot of value to it, but it's that really strong automatic opening mechanism that makes this worth the $40, in my opinion. Yes, I would love it better if it was 30 or 35, but I think it's perfectly acceptable at 40. So if you're looking for a great budget automatic knife, and of course, know your laws in your state, make sure the automatics are legal. But if you're looking for a nice small but strong opening automatic knife, the AKC Xtreme Spy is probably a great option. I would think definitely one that you should consider. So guys, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoy the content, and we'll catch you next time.